Good morning, everybody. And hey, Miley, yeah, I see you're on here. Is that right? Maybe Miley's not on.
Miley's getting connected to the audio right now.
Super. Okay. Good, good, good. Thank you.
Melissa, do you know what your quorum is for this group?
I'm in the meeting. I'm in the meeting. I can hear you all.
Oh, you made
Oh,
it.
it's Miley. Hi. That was confusing. Hi, everybody. Carry on. I'm sorry. I saw that you guys were talking. Keep going.
Hi, Miley. I will double
Hi.
check. I'm checking on the quorum for this meeting. I'll double check that, Jessica, and get back to you.
It's nice to see you guys. Hi, Jessica. Hi, John. How is everybody?
Doing well.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous that we have to be doing it on the phone. I miss everybody in person.
I got to have a meeting in person yesterday. It was wonderful.
Wow, weren't you just big wow out of the box thinkers? Melissa, how is it hanging at your house?
Hold on a second.
Good. What happened? I saw your thumb. Oh, down, up.
I miss Jessica's good coffee.
Look, she's drinking it right there.
Just always tastes better when someone else makes it, you know?
Yeah. Like everything.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So I guess the good news is I'm not muted at this point, so I could actually speak, even if I couldn't see myself.
Oh, you were muted. Oh.
Anyway. Oh, crazy.
Phil Van Horn.
That's me.
What happened to Jessica? Where did Jessica go? I guess when we get a new one in, an old one has to get off the call.
No.
Here. We have a phone number on. It's 414-534-1315. Who's that?
That is Jacob Matson. I just dialed in the little number they gave me on my screen here.
Perfect.
Hopefully it'll change it for you guys.
So for a quorum, we need 6 voting members. So I think we're getting maybe a little closer to that. Hopefully we'll have it.
Do we have 4? How many do we have?
1, 2, 3.
But are we voting on something today? Membership appointments, or do we need a quorum for what we have on the agenda?
It just has to do with approval of the past minutes.
Oh.
And of course, kind of the agenda itself, which is pretty light. But
Right, I
if
see.
not, we just
Right.
carry it forward to
Yeah.
the next month to approve the minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Philip.
But I think there are 6 of you guys,
Are there?
maybe.
Hey, this is Kristen from Goodwill.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I'm not actually a voting member. I'm trying to help attend more because I don't think our folks attend very often. And so I used to attend more when there was grants and stuff like that. So I used to come. So just so you know, I'm not an official voting member. But I think Andrew Smith is from Goodwill, and maybe Lucy Cruz Laporte. So I can always pass that on to them that either they need to attend or we maybe need to switch people. If that helps.
I think it's always helpful to have attendance at these meetings.
Yeah, that's kind of why I've wanted to start coming more.
Well, welcome, Kristen. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Who is Krause G?
That's me, Glenn Krause from CDOT. I'm not a voting member either. I'm just
Oh, shoot.
freaking nosy.
Yeah.
No, I need to know what's going on too. I live in Colorado Springs, so That's an additional bonus for me, although I work out of Denver. It really helps me to know what's going on.
So then we are short for a quorum as of now.
Can we put off the, like you said, Melissa, can we put off the minutes review and approval until the next week? But can we talk to the people that are on the call now?
Oh, yes, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
I know people keep kind of continuing to call in. When do you want to begin the meeting?
I think you could go ahead and start it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll just welcome the people as they kind of pop in if we
Okay.
get a few more. But I say just go ahead and get us rolling, Miley, and thank you for
Okay, that
taking
sounds
on your
great.
second
Sure.
vice chair role.
Always happy to step in. So, good morning, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order at whatever time this is on my phone. It's 9:36 a.m. For those of you who perhaps don't know who I am, and you can't see me because I have an old city computer with no camera. Maybe that's a benefit to me. But my name is Miley Gray. I'm the director of Drive Smart Colorado, and I am the recent, last year's past chair of the Mobility Coordinating Committee. So I was called into action because both of our chair and our first vice chair are missing. They're MIA today. So that's fine. I'm happy to help out. So we don't really have a quorum today of voting members, but that hopefully will, not be the case next month. So what I would like to suggest, and I know that we can't really vote on it, is that we just put off approving the agenda for today and also the minutes review and approval until the July 28th meeting. So hopefully everybody's in agreement with that. So just kind of, nod your head or something. And so I think that we'll just move on, if that's okay, Melissa. Does that sound good to you? And Jessica? Okay, great. So I would just, how about if everybody right now has just go around the virtual room here and give introductions. That would be awesome. Just state your name and who you're with, please. So just chime in, anybody.
John Carroll.
Okay.
Special
Oh, John.
Special families. And
Great.
we serve children and adults with disabilities, and we have a small transportation program attached to that.
Thanks, John. Who would be next?
This is Jody Barker. I'm the director of the Area Agency on Aging, and we administer the Older Americans Act funds from the Administration for Community Living related directly to the funding source for those over 60. So we provide funding to transportation providers and projects here in the area.
Thank you, Jody. Next, please.
As I mentioned, this is Kristen from Goodwill, and we have Goodwills is an open door program that's been taking people to appointments this whole time. Things have slowed down a little bit, and then we have a rehab transportation program that takes folks to our day programs, and those are all not operating right now just because of the high numbers that we have as participants. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Kristen. Thank you so much. And just somebody else, just join right in here. Who else?
I'm Glenn Krause from, I'm a grants project coordinator with the Department of Transit and Rail at CDOT.
Great. Well, welcome, Glenn, and you're welcome to join in on any of the meetings that we have. Thank you for attending today. Phil or anybody else want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Phil Van Horn. I'm the transit manager at Envita, which is a transit provider here in Colorado Springs.
Thank you, Phil. Any other people on the phone or in the Zoom call?
This is Jacob Matson with Mountain Metro Transit. I'm the mobility supervisor, and we provide fixed route paratransit and van pool services.
Thank you, Jacob. That was all that I had down. Is there anybody else on the phone that has not spoken up? Okay. And Melissa, hi, and Jessica, hi. Thank you all for joining in on this little Zoom meeting. We really appreciate that. And I see here on the agenda, and I hope you all have it in front of you, that membership appointments is next up. Can anybody please, I wasn't able to be here the last time, can somebody please refresh my and maybe more people's memory on what that is, please? Melissa or
Yeah,
anybody?
I'll be happy to jump in a little bit. Right
Thank
now,
you.
there
Thanks.
are membership appointments in the queue waiting to come on. And so that
Okay.
for now is, we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, thank you. I would like to encourage those of you on the phone, if you do live in a community that is not represented here on the Mobility Coordinating Committee, to please consider talking with them and us about the possibility of them becoming an active member on the Mobility Coordinating Committee. So are there any, now we do have a very, very light agenda, so perhaps other people have something here. In fact, even though, I mean, it's public comments, but I don't think that we have any general public at large out there. But does anybody have, at this moment, since we do have, I know that we have training and sharing information down there, but at this moment, does anybody have anything to share? I don't think that we have a presentation, so we can just clump it all together. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share? What's going on in your world? Please update us. This is a good time to do it. How about, well, you know what? I'm just going to go down the list. Hey, Jody, do you have anything of interest to share with the group?
I do. As you know, and I don't recall if this was finalized by the time of the last meeting, but as you know, we had been in discussions around hiring a mobility coordinator to help oversee mobility and funding sources. Everything from the current AAA dollars that we administer and in discussions with MMT or around becoming the designated recipient for the FTA 5310 funds. We have hired that mobility coordinator. She will join us July 1 here in Colorado Springs at the office, and we'll figure out time to get her around, introduce her to everyone, to all of our current providers, as well as everyone on the MCC board. And just looking forward to having someone who is going to live and breathe transportation and help coordinate that and then really coordinate these discussions and around the MCC committee as well. So we're very excited about that. Her name is Laura Kilpatrick, and she was actually in a couple of weeks working on her housing because she is moving to Colorado from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And she has a very deep human services background, which I think is going to serve us very well in our environment as we get all of this, these new opportunities in process. So we'll look forward to introducing you all in person or virtual at the next MCC meeting, but very likely at a minimum some one-on-one outreach to each of you as she begins to, and we begin to get her introduced around. So very exciting things to come. And yeah, thank you very much to everyone who's here today, and look forward to hearing what's going on a little bit more around the region. We just a little bit of an aside, because our funding does come from the Older Americans Act and the Older Coloradans Act. And I know this has been kind of high on people's radar with the state budget shortfall of $3.3 billion. Area Agency on Aging's did receive some cuts in funding. However, we were fortunate that those were two funds that had not yet been allocated. They just simply stopped the allocation and approval process and withdrew those. And so we will have some shortages on the state funding side of our equation, but not nearly as drastic as we really expected about a month and a half, 2 months ago when they were talking these massive cuts. So we're still waiting to hear final numbers. We'll be approaching a 2-month holdover period, both from the state to us as well as us to our providers for July and August. That will be very, very tight. There's no way to get around that because we will not receive any state funding at all. And state funding is nearly half of our AAA budget. So it's going to be incredibly tight for us in our service provision as well as with our providers. However, we have a really strong plan in place for them to continue having sufficient operational funds. Region 4, which is Park Hill and El Paso County under the AAA system, did receive a CARES Act funding allotment through the Association of Community Living, which is our federal level organization that oversees our funding. And so we will be able to cushion our 2-month contract shortfall with some CARES Act dollars as needed. And then we will start fresh September 1. So a lot of moving parts right now, as you might imagine, but we continue to fulfill direct contract needs as well as some emergency needs due to COVID-19 with some of this emergency funding that we've received. So we've been very blessed in our area to have received the emergency funds that we have and been able to get those right out into the community as soon as possible. So we're still plugging away, and providers are receiving the services and the funds that they need to be able to serve our community at large. So I wanted to thank all of you that are contracted providers, as well as many of you who continue to be our community partners. And we look forward to just a continued strong relationship. So thank you very much, Bailey. I appreciate it.
Well, that's actually overall really, really good news. So first of all, I personally am super excited to meet Laura, did you say, or Laura? Yeah, I'm super excited to meet her. This has been a while that we've been talking about this, so this is really thrilling news, I think, for the whole group, yeah, I think that this is great myself personally. But also I'm glad that, well, these funding cuts are very scary, frankly, for so many organizations and everything, but hang in there. I'm really glad to hear that, you're going to be able to do as much as you can, Jody. So good deal. Does anybody have any questions for Jody at this moment? If not, we're going to move on. Hey, Glenn, I know that you aren't an official member of this group, but tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what's going on, and how it relates to the Mobility Coordinating Committee.
I didn't really come prepared, but that's okay. I'll do this on the fly.
No, I mean, okay, good.
Right now, we're keeping tabs on, I represent Eastern Colorado and the small, mostly rural agencies, transit agencies in the area, and also keeping tabs in Colorado Spring. Trying to see what the status is, how things are going. Everybody's hurting, of course, in terms of budget. Some are, some aren't. They're getting enough funding from the CARES Act to sustain them. Just wanted to let out as a reminder, we're currently discussing second release of CARES Act funding for transit, for capital. That's in discussion stages still, so that will be up and coming. We too are excited about Laura Fitzpatrick and or Kilpatrick. Gosh, I can't get my name straight. Maura Moon, who's our mobility management person, is very eager to meet her. We're trying to find some funding too that may help. It's being tossed around, but with all the budgets in a state of flux, it's just difficult to put a thumb on anything definitive at this point. But as we progress, I'll come next time more updated. I'm not used to being called on, so I thought I'll just sit back quietly and be a fly on the wall. I'll be more updated.
We don't let you be a fly on the wall here. So, but see, you've really chimed in, so that's fantastic.
Oh, I'm chatty. I don't want to shut my mouth, but I do when I don't have enough information to continue. But those are the big highlights right now. I'll have more next time.
Very, very good. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you so much for participating today. Kristen, anything in the goodwill world?
Sorry.
Oh, wait, who's
Can I
talking?
ask a question really quick? This is Phil.
Yes.
Glenn, can I ask you a question while we're here? I know the Pikes Peak Region MMOF awards just got figured out a couple weeks back. Do you have any update on when those might get processed by CDOT into Cotrans?
You're sounding a little choppy on this end. I didn't quite catch that. Could you ask the question again?
Yeah, so I think it was 2 weeks ago, the Pikes Peak Region approved the Multimodal Opportunity Fund projects.
Right.
So I was wondering if you had any idea when CDOT might be processing those into Cotrans.
I don't at this point. I'll get an update on that. That was just the topic of conversation last Friday. So I apologize for not having an answer, but I will get you one.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Anybody else have a question for Glenn at this moment? Okay, Kristen, anything to report from the goodwill world?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not in charge of our transit area, but I've helped with grants in the past, so I try to stay connected. So yeah, our Goodwills program has been running pretty much as normal. Obviously, they're doing following all the CDC guidelines and disinfecting after every rider and that. So that's more the one-on-one transportation to appointments and stuff. Our day programs have taken a big hit, obviously, because they're suspended. So that's Voyages is the adult day program, and then Possibilities is for folks with developmental disabilities. And so I think they're doing some online stuff, but they're just such large groups that they're not meeting right now. So that transportation program isn't running either. Yeah, and so I know our team just, I can give Glenn a good shout out. He helps us a lot in the past. He's been our grants coordinator on any buses we've gotten. And so I know our team just filled out the CDOT, I think it was Queen, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but did a survey. A survey just went out from CDOT to see kind of how things are going for people, to talk about the other CARES Act funding and maybe some other possible funds. So I know our team just completed that survey. Other than that, you know, I don't have a whole lot of updates on that side. But yeah, we're just trying to stay in touch with what's going on. And we're unique that some of our programs aren't eligible for like CARES Act, where I think it's coming from the 5311 program. And so any advice that anyone else has maybe on things for little nonprofits like us, even though we seem big, we're independent. So yeah, if you have any advice on any CARES Act funding or anything else that's out there that we should maybe be looking at to help.
Okay, good. Does anybody right off the top of your head have any suggestions for Kristen? If you do, send them her way. Oh, Jody, are you raising your hand?
I am. Kristen, I would immediately recommend Colorado Health Foundation and the Next 50 initiative. Those two have some very specific COVID-19 related fund possibilities. I think either one or both have also created an ongoing versus a very strict deadline, so more of a rotational I'm sure that's not the right word because I'm not a grant writer, but an ongoing grant possibility versus strict guideline, a strict deadline for their grant writing. So might be worth taking a look at both of those right now.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll pass that on to the team that kind of runs some of those programs and see. Because I help with the transportation grants, but my day-to-day job is business development for Goodwill. So I'm kind of a quasi helper, but that'd be good things to look at agency-wide for Goodwill for sure. So thank you.
And this is Miley again. Somebody needs to feed that cat back there in the background. Did you guys hear the meowing?
I did hear it. It's not my cat.
I love that's the fun thing about these meetings actually, is it just keeps us all human, which I frankly find very, very enjoyable. So anywho, just kidding. John,
no,
what's
that's
going on
mine.
with
He was announcing that he was now in the house instead of out of the house.
Oh,
he needs
that's
to let me know that.
That's awesome.
He didn't sign it. He didn't sign into the meeting, you know. So anyway, well, maybe he did. That was his way. John, what's happening in your world over there?
For special kids, special families, we only had to close down our adult day program, which is what we primarily used our vans for. Zach's Place for Children was able to stay open and stay quite busy. Although with no kids going to school and no field trips, those vehicles were pretty much idled as well. And most of our transportation funding comes via grants. We did a couple of weeks ago reopen our adult day program on a somewhat smaller scale, and we have a center-based program that's Joey's Place, and then we have a community-based program. And so what our staff members are doing, they are taking the vans out and picking up a couple of clients at a time and doing their outings in the community with, of course, masks and taking temperatures and wiping everything down, all the precautions. So just kind of getting our adult program back up to speed on a limited basis right now. And our other programs have all been going strong. We've been very fortunate with that. So things are looking good, and we're starting to plan our big October fundraising event, the Night of Comedy, and it's going to shift to a virtual event. So we're going through all the steps, trying to learn how to make that work. And so that'll be interesting to see how that works, but looking for donations and sponsorships there. And that's kind of what's been keeping me busy this summer.
That sounds great, John. I'm really happy to hear that your programs are either getting regenerated or that they've been continuing. So that's fantastic. Anybody have any questions or comments for John? I have a comment. You mentioned Joey's Place. My daughter several years ago used to work with the Smoke Brush Foundation and come in and do quote unquote, air quotes here, yoga with your groups, and she absolutely adored that when she went in and worked with with Joey's Place. So I'll tell her that it's still alive and well. She'll enjoy hearing that.
And
that's great.
Smoke Brush has continued to be a big supporter, and we miss our volunteers so much. So we're looking forward to
absolutely
the point where we can bring them back in.
Yes, I remember one of your folks, one of your clients. I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know the lingo. Really loved Frozen, and so my daughter went to Zizos and got a Frozen costume and came in as Frozen, and she got called out. You're not really Elsa, Briar remembers, but it was really funny. So anyway, she had a good time. Okay, but that's aside. Great, thank you, Jacob. What's happening in Mountain Metro Transit?
Yeah, we're starting to ramp up service again. So last week, so let me backtrack there. So we had to cut back some of our routes due to COVID, and primarily, actually, the primary reason was due to driver shortage. We had drivers that didn't feel comfortable driving and took a leave of absence, or some of them just actually didn't feel comfortable driving anymore. So we had a fair number of people that actually quit. So we had to cut back services. So last week we were able to bring back one of our routes, the Route 1, back to 15-minute frequency. That's gone relatively well. We're trying to, like, roughly every 2 weeks bring something back as we have the drivers. Next week, Monday, we're looking to bring the 36 back. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, the 36 basically runs from the western part of Colorado Springs into Manitou. It goes up to the Ruxton, kind of the loop there, the roundabout, and comes back. So we're looking to bring that route back next week. And also for any of you that follow Manitou politics, there's been a whole lot of interesting articles regarding the incline, which impacts our Route 33. You know, Route 33 currently is not running, and without there being the incline, without that being open, it's there's not really a huge point to running it, but we're also eyeing putting that route back up when the incline opens. Currently, we have the Route 18, which is a route that kind of connects up along Union from around I believe the Boulder area up to Academy, and it's meant to supplement the 38, which goes from Academy and Montebello area up to the Northern Hospital. Both of those routes are currently cut. Ridership was incredibly low. If memory serves right, we were averaging right around 1 person an hour on the 18 and less than 1 person going to the hospital per hour. So those routes were cut to use those drivers elsewhere. And also the 38 is part of a pilot program via partnership with the Northern Hospital to see what the need is to go to the hospital. So it came to a mutual decision with both the hospital and us that this was kind of getting in the way of our efforts and throwing off the pilot project. So it was a mutual decision to cut the route back for the time being. And kind of on a similar note, the Route 40, which goes from our Voyager area, Voyager transfer station, up to PPACG Rampart, well, that was canceled back in, I think, March, maybe early April when the school shut down. Without there being school in session, there's not much of a point of running that route either. However, we do plan on bringing that one back for the fall semester as well. So if all goes well, I am, fingers crossed, I'd like to get all the services that we can by the end of July up and running, completely dependent on how we can get the drivers in. We've done pretty well on that front recently. The contractor that works on that has a lot of people going through training, and I think we have a class of 9 starting up here in the next week or two. And then alongside that, we have other people that are coming out of training. So as we get the drivers, we're trying to get the routes right back out there. And at this time, there's been no indication of any route cuts in the future. Obviously, you know, who knows, it's going to come, 3, 6, 9 months down the line. But at this point, we don't foresee the need to cut any of our services. And that's both for our fixed route and paratransit. Over in the world of paratransit, we're starting to see small increases in our trips, but it's still very, very low. We're seeing between 130 to 150 trips a day, and typically on a weekday. And typically, we would probably see somewhere in the 500 range for the number of trips. Our paratransit program is largely impacted by the day program. So as long as the day programs are shut down, those numbers won't recover very high. And then as the day programs come back into play, and depending on how they do their services, if they're restricting the capacity, that'll also have an impact. So we're looking to reach out to some of the larger ones here in the next couple of days to get a gauge on when they plan on reopening so we can be prepared to ramp up paratransit service. And then I guess briefly over in our van pool program, that had dropped for roughly the last 2 or 3 months because of COVID. A lot of those people traveling up to Denver or Pueblo were also stay-at-home ordered for their jobs. But they're starting to come back. I think kind of at a lowest, we're seeing 4 or 5 vans a given week. And these numbers aren't exact, but kind of seeing come across my emails, we probably have about a dozen that are going right now. So that's probably mostly increased in the last 2 weeks. So we're starting to see the increases, and we expect them to come kind of slowly, but hopefully, with that, they'll be a little easier to accommodate as we move along. But yeah, we're starting to see service come back, but it's still probably going to be a couple of months before we see it back anywhere close to where it was before.
Yeah, well, good job. And I live in Manitou, so I've been following that very closely. That's crazy over there in that little town. Yeah, well, thank you for everything that you've been able to hang on to, Jacob, during all this time, and we all look forward to a time when everybody can get where they want to go, when they want to get there, and safely. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Jacob?
Yeah, this is Phil, and I've got a follow-up question. Jacob, with all those fixed route changes, does that change your guys' paratransit footprint at all, or is that staying the same?
No, that's a very good question. So yeah, during these cuts, the footprint of our paratransit has not changed at all. All that's changed with paratransit are the number of calls, the number of trips we're doing. When I referred to the routes that were pilot projects, which were basically the Northern Hospital route and the PPACG Rampart route, those were both do not have a paratransit boundary with them. They're pilot projects and what are called kind of fall into the classification of a commuter bus. Don't actually have the ADA paratransit boundary with it. So we cut those. It didn't change our ADA paratransit boundary. And the Route 18 is already in the center of our service area, so that didn't have an impact either. So paratransit is still running at normal operation. Everybody that calls in, we're no denial. I mean, all we ask is as we move forward and as the various day programs ramp up, that they keep in communication with us, because if it ramps up too quickly, we can't get the drivers back quick enough to do it.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for explaining that.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, Phil, you are up next. What is happening over at VITA?
Okay, yeah, so we're still lower volume than we were before COVID, but we're getting pretty close. We're doing about 70 trips a day. We were doing about 120 before COVID. In the worst of it, we were doing like 30. So we recovered quite a bit. Both of our rural fixed routes are back to their normal schedule. The Callahan route's running Monday through Thursday, and the Highway 94 route is Wednesday and Friday. So those are back to normal. We heard last MCC from Jolene at Valley about this antimicrobial film that they got installed. So we reached out to that vendor, and we're in the process of getting that installed on all of our vehicles as well. And that's some pretty neat stuff. So if anybody is interested in that, I'm happy to share info on who's doing that and what it is. So just follow up with me and I can send it to you. And
Phil, that's that, it sticks on stuff, right? And then it's like super sanitary or something? Is that the deal on that film?
Yeah, it's like basically a transparent decal that you apply to a surface, and it's infused with this silver ion that has been pretty conclusively shown to pretty much halt bacterial growth, and there's some pretty good evidence that it's effective on viruses as well. So we've applied it to the grab bars in the buses and the door handles. And there's a different form factor that's like a paint-on kind of thing that we're putting on the steering wheels and the gear shifters. Because the film is pretty slick, so you wouldn't want that on a steering wheel. But it comes in a couple of different options too. So it's really neat stuff. Highly recommend. And it's really not that expensive.
And does
either,
is there an expiration date on it? I mean, does it expire in 6 months, or how does that work?
It's supposed to last for 5 years. 5 years.
Wow.
So,
okay.
This
anyway, I didn't mean to throw you off course.
Yeah, this is Jody. I just want to throw in there with Phil's report on that film. We're very excited that we were able to provide the funding to Envita and to Fountain Valley Senior Center to have that film installed on their vehicles. Fountain Valley also requested it for the touch surface, the primary touch surfaces within their building. So when they reopen, they will have that film on doorknobs and handles and things like that. So that's a really great example above and beyond the transportation side of what we were able to do with some of the emergency funding that we were provided to manage in the area.
That's
thank you so
really
much,
great.
Jody, by the way. And I forgot to mention, but we're getting in some of our facility locations too, like door handles, and are getting our front desk done too. So there's options for that as well. Not to be an advertisement for them, but it is pretty cool stuff.
Well, no, it sounds pretty good. So what else, before I interrupted you, keep going.
Yeah, no. So since, well, I think April, Envita has been in progress with the project with Silver Key and Fountain Valley to consolidate our scheduling customer databases and route match. And that went live at May 1st. And so we've been through about a month and a half now. It's going great. So we're all using the same scheduling system, and we're starting to transfer trips back and forth, working on the procedures to do that more automatically now, which I'm really excited about. So that's pretty cool news for the region. We're piloting that with the AAA trips primarily. If the provider that a customer calls cannot provide the trip, we're going to be able to see if our partners can provide the trip without the customer having to call them. So really cool stuff. I'm excited that's going well. We had our project consultant with Route Match on site all last week, and he visited us and the other two, Silver King and Fountain Valley, and that was really great to get some training and to analyze some details with that. So we're moving forward with that. We're really excited, and it's going really well. Silver Key or Fountain Valley aren't here, I guess, unfortunately. Most of you probably know Victoria had to step down to move away to deal with some family opportunities. And so I think Silver is still trying to figure out the path forward from that. So Victoria's been around for forever. It's a pretty big loss, not just to them, but to the community. But yeah, that's enough. There's probably something I forgot, but what's going on in Envita?
Well, it's great to hear. I love to hear all this action instead of just like dead silence on the other end if we ask for what's going on in your world. So that's really good to hear, Phil. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Phil at this time?
Yeah, Phil, this is Jacob, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or not. Last meeting, Jolene had stated that community intersections, that she was talking with them, or you guys were working together with them. Are they still looking to be part of the consolidated database?
Yeah, my understanding is the ball's in their court with that. The door is definitely open. There were some issues between them and the tech provider Route Match that needed to get worked out, and I think that's been sorted out. So my understanding is that the decision to move forward with that is resting with community intersections at this point.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so that leaves me, Miley. So many of our programs, we do a lot of in-person outreach education. Many of our programs, all, most have been postponed or canceled altogether for this year, picking back up in 2021. I will say that we just, again, I'm reminding people we did just do a big reprinting of our aging driver guides, which is for those who are still driving, but perhaps will be transitioning to a passenger, no matter what the mode of transportation. So if anybody would like any to distribute to your folks or have available, please reach out to us and let us know. We'll be happy to mail you some. They're free, and they are a statewide guide, so it's good. It has information for the whole state. I also wanted to let everybody know, just FYI, that I am retiring finally, or I guess quitting is more like it because we don't have a retirement plan or anything. But I'm leaving Drive Smart Colorado after it'll be 27 years of organizing Drive Smart, the end of the year, and I'm going to be moving on to whatever. It'll be kind of a nice change, but I love this program so much. So anyway, that said, we will be looking for a new executive director for Drive Smart Colorado, very small local nonprofit dedicated to traffic safety education for all ages. If anybody wants information or has somebody in mind or anything, just let me know. But meanwhile, you're stuck with me until December or January at least. So, no, not at least. Anyway, so I do have a hard stop date. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And other than that, Drive Smart Colorado doesn't have much to share at this moment, other than we're excited to just get back to normal here like everybody. So that said, does anybody have any questions for me? Okay,
I do.
and if not, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
Yes?
is your last day then kind of December 31st, or when is your
Well,
last
my
day?
last day is somewhere between the middle of December and Martin Luther King Day, because actually on Martin Luther King Day in January will be my 27th anniversary of running Drive Smart. So it will be sometime at the end of the year. A lot of it is going to depend on hiring a new executive director. We would like letters and resumes by July 31st with the plan to have somebody hired by October 1st, which would give me an opportunity to train this individual. So, and then I'm staying on the board of directors, because once you're on Drive Smart, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a lifetime commitment. We don't really believe in term limits. So we have, I'll be on the board with all the major chiefs of police, the sheriff, and a lot of other community members. So anyhow, I'll still be around. We all will be, to give guidance to the then future staff of Drive Smart Colorado. So anyhow, I'm not going anywhere for a while, and I'll still be around, and always just a phone call away. So anyhow,
And
yeah.
Miley, who is your board chair right now?
My board chair is John Henry. He's a retired public communications director for USAA Property and Casualty Insurance. He's the board chair.
Wow, great.
And also founding father of Drive Smart
Really?
Colorado.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
27 years of board
anyhow.
service for him too, or coming and going?
Well, you know, he was actually my boss for many years when I was a contract employee running Drive Smart out of USAA, because they actually started the program.
Okay.
And then the board has really been up and running since 2009, because we were privately funded, or not privately funded. I mean, we were not just grant funded until 2009. We actually had funding, a steady stream of funding. And then in 2008, you know, remember those days when things changed for the first time? Who knows what'll happen from this point forward? But when they changed then, I just kicked my nonprofit into high gear, and we got everybody more involved in actually the whole nonprofit kit and caboodle that goes along with it. So, but it's a very dedicated group, and they really do hope that we can continue Drive Smart into the future, because we are nationally recognized. You know, we do what we say we're going to do, and that's kind of important. So, and we even do some things that we don't say we're going to do. But anyway, so that's the deal there. If anybody has any more questions, please let me know. Okay, so are there any action items for the next meeting other than meeting Laura? We're looking forward to that, but is there anything else that we need to know about to put on the agenda for July 28th at 9:30 in the morning? Anybody? I would like to let people know that if people are interested in sharing officially and giving a presentation, that is still very, very welcome to occur during this meeting. You know, we just went around the room and did a little short ditty on what's going on in our world. But if there are presentation opportunities, I would really like to stress that we would still love to have them. For example, I do a presentation with a colleague of mine, Terry Cassidy, who's also a member of MCC, and she does the Fitness to Drive program. And she is a PhD occupational therapist, whatever they call themselves, doctor level, and she's a certified driver rehab specialist. And what she has to say, I think, is of great interest. And if anybody would like that, we have done virtual webinars to other groups in the past, and if anybody is interested, or if maybe this is something that we want to give to a short version to the MCC on some future date, then, you know, we'd be happy to do that. But if anybody else has any presentation ideas, we would be very happy to host that on these calls until we can meet in person. So that said, I guess if there's nothing else to chat about this morning, that I will adjourn the meeting at 10:20 a.m. Does that sound good to everybody? I mean, it's kind of sad, but you know, we will go forward. Okay, Jody's giving me a thumbs up. His cat's giving me a thumbs up too. I can see it, or a paws up in the air. So anyhow, the meeting is adjourned, and we look forward to hearing from everybody July 28th. But again, if anybody has anything that they need to get out to the group sooner, please send it to Jessica or Melissa and let them know, and they'll make sure that we get it. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Great to see a few of you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.